Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Visit Arctic Europe E-event. We have some 150 people joining, and there is still a lot of people missing, but let's start anyway. During this COVID time, Visit Arctic Europe has went digital truly. We have organized different events in digital formats. We have had webinars about sustainability, about digitalization, about the best practices, about the market situations. We have had roundtable discussions with the companies. We have had sales workshop and even digital fan trips to region. So it's nice to continue this series with E-event. We are humans, not zoomans. And I feel really privileged to introduce our speaker today, Pellegrino Riccardi. Pellegrino was born in the UK in an immigrant family from the south of Italy. For the last 25 years, he has lived in Norway with his Norwegian 5 and 3 children. In 2020, Pellegrino won Norwegian Speaker of the Year. On award, he won against tough competition from over 600 of country's top speakers. A deciding factor in jury's decision to present Pellegrino with this award was the way in which he managed to successfully make the leap from the pre-COVID physical stage to the new normal digital one. Pellegrino has 3 TED Talks under his belt. His TEDx Bergen, Norway about cultural differences talk has clocked up over 1 million views. I had personally honored to meet Pellegrino a couple of years ago in Riga, where we both were in keynote speakers. And I have to say that it's much nicer to speak before Pellegrino than after Pellegrino. In Riga, I stepped on stage just after Pellegrino, and a whole audience was applauding, standing and yelling how good Pellegrino was. And it was really challenging to speak about cross-border tourism cooperation. Now I'm honored and I feel really privileged to welcome Pellegrino to a great group of Visit Arctic Europe. I really hope that all of you who has joining will enjoy, and Martin and Pellegrino, please, stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Rauno. Lovely introduction there. Of course, that applause in the last time we met, half of that, at least half of that was for you coming on the stage, and half of it was the relief of seeing me go off the stage. Good. Let's start with the logistics first of all. It would be really nice, if you don't mind, you don't have to, but it'd be really cool if I could see your faces. Mute your microphones, but put your faces on. Then I can have a little bit, there you go, people are waving, excellent. That means you can hear me fine. Great, look at that, great to see you. Real human beings, love it. The next thing is make me as big as you can on the screen, because I'm going to show lots of pictures. So if you don't know how to do that, if it hasn't already been done, you go to my picture and you press the 3 dots in the corner and just press pin. And you'll pin me and I'll become big in the screen. Okay, have you got that? Because I'm going to show lots of images and it's going to go quite fast as well. And it makes a big difference. All right, we're ready to go, yeah? Cool. Yeah, thanks for joining me, first of all, on the lovely summer's day, because it seems like the whole of the Nordic countries is in summer. And I've seen some of your messages here, even up in Lapland, in Rovaniemi, it's really warm, which is bad news for Father Christmas, of course, the official place, the birthplace and the living place of Father Christmas. You took him away from Norway and made him your own. Well done. Great marketing there. And thanks for the introduction. As my name suggests, I have Italian background. They're both from Italy. They moved to the UK, and now I've been in Norway 25 years. And I love to play with my identities. I love to pretend I'm one of these nationalities. I've had lots of fun with this phrase here. Oh, I've had so much fun with this, traveling around the world, telling people you can trust me. You know, when you say it with this lovely British accent that I have, people believe you. They actually believe you, especially in Scandinavia and the Nordic countries. You can trust me. Works brilliantly. Works quite well with a Norwegian accent too. I was at an airport once and a guy asked me to watch his bags. I said, no problem. Yeah, you can trust me. I'm from Norway. And he said, are you Norwegian? Yes, I'm Norwegian. And he said, Norwegians are lovely people. And I said, yes, we are. You can trust all of us. All right, it works really well. But the one that never works is the last one. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. That one there never works. Okay, and I can see you smiling already because I don't even need to say it. You know exactly how it sounds. You even know how you're going to react when I say it. Huh? You can trust me. Huh? You can trust me. I'm from Italy. I mean, it doesn't matter where I say that in the world. People just laugh at me. Okay? Why? I'll tell you why. Because there's something called the images in your brain. We all have these images in our brain of how things are and how things should be. And the brain likes to know how things are. You can call them expectations if you like. Sometimes we call them values or beliefs or even prejudices. But you see, we love to know how things are, and the brain needs to have images. Even if they're stereotype images, that's better than nothing. Because what happened last year was that all those fixed images in our brains were challenged. They were turned upside down and they were mixed up and made into a new cocktail. And it was stressful, especially in my world, the speaking world. January 2020 was the best month I'd ever had in my career. It was brilliant. It was all sunshine. It was amazing. Eh? February, there were rumors coming that something was on its way. It was getting a bit cloudy. And then by March, my world was a solar eclipse, but without the diamond ring. And in the space of about 7-10 days, I had all my work cancelled, all of it for 2020, including a trip I should have made to Haparanda in May for you guys. All cancelled, all of it. And suddenly, my world and all my images have been turned upside down, and I am in crisis. And suddenly, new words started popping up in my life. Words like this. Who'd ever heard of Slack or Zoom or WebEx? We don't need that. And now life is all about this. I've had so many meetings like this. I'm sure you have as well, yeah? I mean, I look really good from the waist up because that's all you can see. You have no idea what's going on down here, right? You have no idea. It might be something like this. Who knows? Could be. You don't know. But we've had lots of meetings like this, but we're all suffering from something we call Zoom fatigue. Why? Because we are humans and not humans. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, okay? Now, I remember last April, sitting in my garden, completely unemployed, no income, a family to support. I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. But then I was also saying to myself, well, you do lots of talks about change and adapting to change and all. You have to put some of those theories into practice, all right? And I recalled the words of a famous Englishman who once said, never waste a good crisis. I think those are really cool words. Never waste a good crisis. Now he didn't mean ignore the crisis. He didn't mean pretend the problem isn't there. That's not what he means at all. But he says in every crisis, there's an opportunity. So what stops us from seeing the opportunities? Well, it's the brain, right? It's those fixed images, because we prefer to have fixed images. The brain is your best friend because it keeps you alive, but it's also your worst enemy. The brain has over 180 tricks up its sleeve to trick you into seeing things that aren't really there, playing with you all the time. In psychology, we call them a cognitive bias, 180 of them. I'm not going to go through them. You'll be happy to hear, but I want to show you two, all right? Two of them, really important. Number one, the brain is lazy. The brain is super lazy. Psychologists don't use the word lazy. They use the word the path of least resistance. It's a much more fancy name, but it's basically laziness. What does that mean? It means the brain is designed to survive with the minimum amount of effort. It's an efficiency machine. It's a lazy machine. So you're lying on your sofa watching Netflix and you say to yourself, gosh, I should really go for a run or at least a walk, get some fresh air. And your brain goes, no, you don't. You don't have to do that. You know you'll survive just fine without going for a run. Have another drink. Go and get a pack of crisps, chips. They're really nice. Oh, it goes really well with the Netflix. You don't need to go for a run. You'll survive just fine. The path of least resistance, all right? Do you understand? That's how it works, right? Now, why am I telling you this? Because when we collaborate with people, collaboration, not cooperation, they're two different things in English. Cooperation and collaboration are similar, but not exactly the same. To work together is to collaborate. That word comes from Latin and it means with labor. In other words, collaboration is really difficult. And you have to challenge the lazy brain in order to collaborate with people, especially in difficult times. By the way, that's why a woman giving birth is in labor, because it's bloody hard work. I've seen it done 3 times live. Oh my God, it looks really, really difficult, okay? And my wife is an amazing person just for doing that for me. For us, it's amazing. It's hard work. The next thing is that the brain is a party pooper. If you're going to a party, don't take your brain. Why? Because it's programmed to look for negatives before the positives. There's a really good explanation. When we were living in caves, when the world was really dangerous, okay, really dangerous, even more dangerous than now, the brain was looking for everything that could go wrong. That's how it stayed alive. And even today, psychologists tell us that we're 5 times more likely to see problems before benefits. And my point is this: there are always benefits in everything. Again, I'm not saying that we pretend the problems don't exist, but we'll see the problems anyway, because the brain does that anyway. We're really good at seeing problems, all right? But what's really tricky is seeing the benefits, and there's always benefits, even with snoring. Yeah, I don't think she would agree with that. She would think it's just a problem. But there is, in fact, a benefit with snoring. It took me a long time to find it, but I found it in the end. An evolutionary psychologist explained to me that the reason we snore is because way back in the day when we slept in caves, snoring was designed to scare the animals away while we were asleep. And the louder you snored, the safer you slept. Isn't that amazing? The last time my wife complained about my snoring, I looked at her, I said, listen, I'm trying to keep you alive for God's sake. Can't you be grateful for once? All right, there's always a benefit. You have to look for it. So seeing negatives is the brain's default. Seeing positives is a choice. And the choice one is much more difficult, and you need to train it, especially when you're dealing with the unknown. Now, I've worked with organizations for over 2 decades now, working with people. What is it that people have, the ones that adapt to crises, problems, change, all that stuff, reorganization, what qualities do they have? And I've concluded that they have 3 main qualities, and it's not rocket science. People who adapt to change, best of all, they tend to be open, they tend to be curious, and they tend to be brave. Why brave? Because they jump into the unknown without having all the answers beforehand. They know they're going to have bad days and make mistakes, but they go for it. They go for it. And they do it with an open mind and with curiosity. After the initial shock of 2 months of being unemployed as a speaker, I gave myself a deadline. The deadline was the 1st of September. I said, okay, I'm going to have a summer holiday. I'm going to get good at gardening. I became very good at gardening, right? My kids started calling me Garden Ramsay. That was a really good name, Garden Ramsay. And on the 1st of September, I said, if things aren't going back to the way they were, I am going to have to switch to the digital. 1st of September came, nothing had changed. So I went down to the Scandinavian photo shop in Oslo Center with my card, and I bought lots of equipment, I had no idea how it worked. And suddenly I was learning all about this and about how to stream and 3-point lighting. And it's not called a microphone, it's called a lavalier, and getting one of these fancy boxes that allows me to do things like this. It's cool, isn't it? Right? Yes, very good. My point is that suddenly, after feeling like I was really good at what I did, okay, you know, going on stages and doing my job really well, suddenly I was back to square one. I was incompetent, useless. I was making mistakes. It was looking amateur. It just was not good. But I said to myself, stay open, stay curious, stay brave, and it will work out. And here I am standing in front of you now, but it took a while, right? And I want to say a little bit more about this here, curious. Because if you want one tip that comes for free on how to get your brain in gear to look for solutions and be creative, it's all about curiosity. And I know you've heard that before, be curious, and it's very important to be curious, but did you know why? Do you know what it does to you? When you are curious, something amazing happens in your brain. You start producing something called dopamine. And I know you've heard of dopamine, and if I ask people what is dopamine associated with, they often say, oh, that's pleasure, or being high, or and isn't it to do with gambling? Yeah, it's got a lot to do with, if you gamble, you'll get dopamine hit. If you jump from a plane, you'll get dopamine hit. If you do it a bit of this, you're going to get lots of dopamine in the brain. So dopamine is about pleasure and reward. But dopamine is really this. It's a motivation hormone. It's the motivation hormone that drives you to seek goals and rewards and enables you to make the effort it requires to be successful. All right, look at those words. In other words, let me put this to you in a simple way. For that man or woman, I couldn't find pictures of women leaving caves. I'm sorry about that. Blame Google, right? For a man or a woman to leave a cave, you first have to produce dopamine. Otherwise, you stay in the cave. You got to produce lots of dopamine because that's what motivates you to go out and be successful, to find food. And then you say, yeah, but we don't live in caves anymore. What are you talking about? Really? We don't live in caves anymore? What do you think the last year has been? For all of us who've had to work in the home office, that is the new cave. Have you felt your energy levels have been down, that you don't want to do anything? That's because we're not producing dopamine. It's also because the brain is lazy. Here's the thing. Even though working from home, for those of you who've worked at home, and I imagine that's many of you, even though it's a bit boring and monotonous and you see the same faces every day, the brain loves it. The brain says, this is a great way to live. I'm earning a living, I'm still staying alive, and I'm not doing anything. It's great. I mean, I would be lying to you if I said that it wasn't really nice to make a cup of tea upstairs just now, come down my stairs, here I am, I'm doing a talk. Before I had to order taxis, trains, planes, hire cars, all the accounts, all the it was a nightmare. It was a logistic nightmare. Now it's fantastic. The brain loves that. And here's the thing about dopamine. The Estonian psychologist Jak Panksepp did a lot of research on dopamine. He found out something amazing with dopamine. He put rats and mice into a labyrinth, a maze, and he got them to find a reward, usually sugar water. There's your mouse drinking the sugar water, okay? And they thought that that was what gave them the dopamine hit. It's the reward, the sugar water, the cocaine, if you like, right? But then he started only giving them the water without the labyrinth, the maze. They didn't produce nearly as much dopamine. In other words, that's the part that produces the dopamine. It's the anticipation. It's the curiosity. He called this system the seeking system. And we human beings need to be looking for things. As soon as you're curious about something, instead of complaining, you produce dopamine. When you complain, you produce something else. But when you look curiously at a problem, how can we figure this out? You produce the #1 motivation hormone to go out and do it. Of course, we've been locked up in our home offices for a year. Can't seek when you're not allowed to leave the house, right? So, but we found a substitute for it. We call it online shopping. That's the new seeking system. We love it. I mean, you've done lots of online shopping. Most of us have. I've done loads. Do you know why? It's because we're looking for things. The best part is looking for bargains. We love it. Oh, I found a bargain. Click, I bought it. You don't need it. You just love looking for it. And I'm going on holiday this summer. I think I am. I'm an optimist, all right? I went on booking.com. Look at this. Where to next, Pellegrino? Bang, the seeking system. And it comes for free by being curious. So just by being curious, you're getting the same hit as jumping out of a plane or gambling in Las Vegas. Isn't that amazing? And this is part of what makes us humans, right? We are humans, not zoomans. Technology, don't get me wrong, technology is amazing. I love technology. Without technology, I couldn't do this, right? Without technology, I couldn't speak to my father. It's 552 days since the last time I hugged my father. Think about that, guys. Maybe some of you are in a similar position. You haven't seen your family for a long time. But I speak to him every day almost. And you know, he's an 85-year-old Italian with no education who now knows how to use Zoom and Messenger. It's amazing. The world is officially digitalized when he can do that. It's great, but there's something missing. Do you know what's missing from this? This is missing. What on earth is this? This, my friends, is what we call oxytocin. Often known as the love hormone or the hug hormone, is produced every time you hug someone or have physical contact with them. Every time you hug someone that you love or that you care for, you're producing what I call the tingle. Literally goes through your body. It's like a tingle. Can you imagine now? Imagine hugging someone you love now, right? Every time you're at work and you're in a meeting room with a colleague that you like and admire and you like working with, you don't even have to hug them, you're producing oxytocin. I'll tell you why it's important in a sec. Even football fans produce it. I mean, they make a lot of noise, but if you listen carefully, there's a little tingle in the background. Yeah. And during the last year of COVID, what's happened to all the football fans? They've disappeared. And so has the tingle. They tried to put the noise on top, but it doesn't work. Nobody's fooled. And if you are a soccer fan, a football fan, you couldn't help but be moved recently when the fans started coming back to the stadiums. There's something about it. Oh, it makes us feel emotional again. That's oxytocin. A mother who is going to breastfeed has to produce oxytocin because otherwise no milk will come out. Because oxytocin is what I call human glue. It glues us people together. It's connection. It's what glues us together. And our brains are wired for connection. It starts from day one. Look at this amazing image during the crisis. Two very, very exhausted doctors, medical staff, looking for that physical contact, that oxytocin. Because, you know, when I first moved to Norway and started traveling around the Nordic countries, and Finland and Sweden and Denmark even, you know, I used to wonder whether you actually liked connection. I mean, you just have to look at a bus stop in Finland. This was before COVID, okay? To think, do these guys actually like connection? And, you know, it's no different in Norway. These are all pre-COVID pictures. Sweden as well. You know, you don't get the same impression when you go to a place like India, for example. Standing in the line in India is very different. Now, I don't know what's going on here, but he doesn't look very pleased, does he? I wish I was in Sweden. Yeah, me too, all right? And I'm sure you've all seen this. Finally, the horrible 2-meter distance is over. Now Scandinavians can go back to the normal 5 meters. There you go. My message is this: mind the gap. Mind the gap. Because now we know what the gap feels like. And I know there are some people out there, we call them the introverts, who think that working at home is cool. And it is cool. Everyone's got different needs. I get that, you know. My wife loves it. But even my wife, after a few months of it, starts to feel something which isn't good. It's because we're not getting our human glue. And that's what the tourism industry does. It brings people together and provides human glue for them. There's a new way of looking at the way you market yourselves. These two chaps here, they're doing something called social grooming, finding little animals in each other, okay? Great. But what they're really doing is they're touching each other. That's what binds them together. They can spend 3 to 4 hours doing this a day, touching each other. That's what glues them together. It's amazing, yeah? And we used to do lots of this before without even thinking about it. Not finding animals in each other's hair, but just looking at each other and being next to each other and touching people on the arm and smiling. That's glue. We're producing glue. We've done it for 200,000 years. And then suddenly one day in March, our government said, stop, don't do it anymore. If you have to, use your elbow. Your elbow, the most sensitive area of the body, right? The elbow, yeah. That's why we got Zoom fatigue. In fact, it's not Zoom fatigue we have, it's Zoom sickness. We're feeling sick, literally feeling sick, yeah? In our industry, the tourism, because I'm actually part of the tourism industry too, conferences and all that, it's tourism, right? It's travel, conferences. But most industries are doing just fine. Their profit margins are even better during COVID, especially if it's got anything to do with sports, indoor, house, decorations, brilliant. Amazon booming. But at what cost to human beings? We're sick, guys. Luckily, there's a cure. Yeah, you need your daily dose. What is your daily dose? Your daily DOSE. What on earth are these? Well, you know what two of them are already. Dopamine and oxytocin, all right? I've talked about those. So what are the other two? S is serotonin. What is serotonin? I know these are tricky words, but serotonin, it's best to explain how we use serotonin. When we come back to the normal life, here's one of the things I'm really looking forward to. Look at this beautiful image. This is my son lying on a beach in the south of Italy. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We've had a really good day together and people are making their way back to their hotel rooms. The waves are coming in. The sun is about to set. It's perfect temperature. When I look at this photograph, I can feel it in my stomach. I start to feel calm and good and life's okay and I wish I could do this more. You know those feelings? Do you remember those? Those holiday feelings? That's serotonin being produced in your belly. Every time I go past, I have lots of photographs of the family around the house. Here's one of them, my two daughters. Here they are, all right? Every time I see those two daughters there, I get the saying, oh, look, they're my kids there. I like my kids. That's the picture I just saw, by the way, while I was making my cup of tea upstairs. It's in the kitchen, this one, because it calms me down. Serotonin is a calmer. Serotonin is one of the S's in selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, better known as antidepressants. In other words, serotonin is nature's antidepressant. And there are many ways to produce serotonin. The easiest way is to take a walk outside. That's why your companies, if you work for a company or you have someone who works for a company or you know someone, they're telling their employees to go out and get some fresh air. What they don't do is explain why. Because when you go out into the daylight, you're producing serotonin. You produce even more when you see photographs of loved ones. And serotonin is really important because it influences your mood and your sleep and your appetite and your ability to remember things and concentrate. It's so important. And when we're locked up inside and we're restricted from moving, especially from seeing loved ones or doing those things that we most look forward to, which is holidays, the industry you guys are in, we don't produce serotonin. But there's one way you can produce it, or there are many ways, but one in particular that produces loads of it if you know about it. And it's gratitude. Now, I'm sure you're checking the news every day. Some of us are checking it too much every day. And we know that when we check the news all the time and the media is all about negative stories, a certain part of your brain starts to grow. It's called the amygdala. It's your alarm system, okay? And every time we check the news, your amygdala gets alerted. And over time, your amygdala starts to grow. It literally gets bigger in size. Just like any muscle or part of the body, when you train it or focus on it, it gets bigger. If you're into weight training and your muscles get bigger, and if you see negative things all the time, that part of the brain gets bigger. And that's a problem. because that means you'll have trouble sleeping. That means you can't concentrate. That means if you're really unfortunate, you develop angst and depression. Not cool. So how do we calm that part of the brain? Gratitude. Amazing experiment was done in the USA at Stanford, where they asked a group of people to be grateful every day. Well, what they said to them, every day when you get up, spend 15 seconds, not minutes, 15 seconds, writing something down that you're grateful for. Genuinely grateful. Just do that every day for 12 weeks. And after 12 weeks, they discovered something amazing. They discovered that their amygdalas had reduced in size. They had become smaller from being grateful every day. Isn't that amazing? Their bodies and minds had calmed. Again, this is for free. Another way you produce serotonin is to have a nice meal, by the way. Eat something nice. Now, you need to find what you're grateful for. I've got my own techniques. I've got some really good ones I'm really grateful for. They work so well. That's the S. So what's the E? Well, the E is endorphins. Endorphins, yeah. What are endorphins? Well, let's split the word up into two. It comes from endogenous and morphine. Endogenous simply means from the inside, and morphine is morphine. So endorphin is morphine that's produced inside your body and comes out. How does the body produce morphine? Endorphins? Well, a sports player gets injured, produces endorphins. Why? Because it helps with the pain. In other words, it's nature's painkiller. Again, back to this image. Remember that image? A woman giving birth produces endorphins. It helps with the pain. If you train at a training studio, when you train, you produce endorphins to get you to the finish line to help you with the pain, because training is painful. But when you finish, you get a high, right? Oh, I did it. That's endorphins. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, God, training. Everyone's talking about, I don't want to train. Don't. Here's another way to produce endorphins, which you can do sitting down, right? Laughing and crying. Yeah. Every time we laugh, we produce endorphins, loads of them. Yeah. Every time we cry, we produce endorphins. Endorphins are cleaning the body. They're helping reduce the pain of life. That's why it's so important. When a child cries, let the child finish crying. Comfort the child, but let them finish crying, because it's helping with the pain. Every day, here's a tip for you. Every day, I go onto YouTube. Every single day, I try to limit to 20 minutes. Every day I go to YouTube and I find something that makes me laugh and something that makes me cry. Laugh and cry every day. Yeah. Do a little tear every day. It's easy to find. At the moment, I don't know why, I'm watching American soldiers coming home from Iraq and surprising their kids at school. You should see the kids' faces. It produces, and it's cleaning. I'm sure you've got them in your countries. All the Norwegians watching now know exactly who these four people are. These are the four various representatives of the government and the health authorities who come to the press conferences and give us some kind of bad news, basically, right? And I can see Norwegians nodding. They know exactly who they are. Do you think they're bringing DOSE to us? I don't bloody think so, right? Now, I know they have a job to do. I get it. But I feel sorry for them, because they're just bringing everything that kills the human spirit. Now they're starting to bring a little bit of good news, because they're starting to bring with us the daily DOSE, right? You got it? DOSE every single day. And I can send you, if you remind me, if you find me on LinkedIn, easy to find, and send me a little message, I can send you a bit more information about DOSE and how you produce it. It's really simple. And it's what's been missing the past year. And it's what charges our hearts and our minds, the DOSE. And when you do this, you build up something called resilience. I need to talk a little bit about resilience, guys. Resilience is a posh word in English. What does resilience mean? Resilience is the process of adapting well to significant sources of stress. The process of adapting well to significant sources of stress. Significant sources of stress are things like marriage breakups, financial problems, losing your job, losing someone close to you in an accident, right? Resilience is the ability to adapt to that and to come back from it. I'm a linguist by trade, so when I see a word, I need to know where the word comes from. You nearly always find out what the word really means. And resilience comes from Latin, resilire, which means to bounce back. Isn't that cool? There's even a word in English, bounce back ability. Did you know this? This is a real English word, bounce back ability. It didn't become a word until 2005, and it was brought to the English language by a football trainer called Ian Dowie, who managed a team called Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace, basically, they got relegated one year, promoted the next. They're constantly going up and down. So he could be depressed one year and completely joyous the next. Bounce back ability. So what do we need to create the resilience mindset, bounce back ability? What is it that we need to do? Well, amongst all these balls jumping up and down, you need to grab 6 of them. I want to show you 6 tips that you can use in your daily life to create a resilient mindset. You've probably done it already, actually, all right? Number 1, resilience. The number 1 thing you need to build resilience is pain and discomfort. You have to go through difficult times to become resilient. You have to train your muscles and they have to ache to get better shape, right? Same. Have you all seen Forrest Gump? Have you seen Forrest Gump? Yeah, everyone's seen Forrest Gump, right? Can you finish this quote for me? Life is like, right? You all look at, yeah, you got it. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I love that phrase, said by Forrest Gump's mother. My mama used to say. I've got a better one for you. One that my mama used to say, right? She didn't say anything about a box of chocolates. She used to say, life is like an espresso coffee. What? We used to say, what? Yeah, she says, because it's bitter and sweet. The bitter coffee with the sweet sugar. And if you don't have sugar, you have a biscotto next to it. It's sweet. You need both to have a complete cup of coffee. She used to say to us, you need the sugar and the shit in life. You can't have just the sugar, right? That was her way of saying it. Edith Eger said the same thing or a similar thing. She's a world-known psychologist, survivor of the Holocaust, who wrote a book called The Choice. In this book, she writes, the spoiled, pampered children were the first to die at Auschwitz. Why? Because they kept waiting for others to come and save them, and when no one came, they gave up. Now, that's kind of a dramatic way to put it, but it's quite powerful, isn't it? Yeah? You need pain and discomfort, the sugar and the shit, as my mother said, to become resilient. And what have we had for the past 1 year, 3 months? Shit. A little bit of sugar as well, but shit as well. Every time I have a bad day, I'm telling myself this is necessary to make me stronger. Watch a movie called The Martian. Not many people have seen The Martian with Matt Damon. Basically stranded on Mars. It's going to be 4 years until they come to save him, and he has to survive for 4 years. Here's a great picture. There he is, sitting there and thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? He's a botanist. So he decides, well, I have to keep alive. So he makes himself a greenhouse and decides to grow some potatoes. He creates the water, that's okay, but he needs fertilizer. What does he use for fertilizer? Obvious. He used the human waste from his fellow astronauts who've left him behind because they think he's dead. In other words, my point is this. Shitty days are growing days. Every time you have a shitty day, and I've looked for better words than shitty, but shitty is the best one, all right? Every time you have a shitty day, you are fertilizing your mental muscles. It's fertilizer. And then he's saying, yeah, but yeah, you have to have them. Not every day, hopefully, but you need them. That builds resilience. Shitty days are growing days. And the past year has been pretty crap for you guys, and for me too. It's been tough, yeah? I've had some really dark days. We're coming back, and we're going to be much stronger, and we're going to be wiser too. Number 2, for building resilience, acceptance for things you cannot control. You cannot control everything, guys. You can control some things, but you can't control everything. Yeah, the classic one is the weather. And Nordics are really good at that, you know, the weather. Can't control the weather. You can wear different clothes. That helps, but you can't change the weather. You can't change how many people die from COVID. You can do social distancing and be careful and get vaccinated. That helps. As an individual, you can control that, but you shouldn't spend time worrying about things that are out of control. There he is, waiting. When the hell? What am I going to do? This image, I love it because what he's doing here is really important to help us focus on things that we can't control. Observe, accept, let go. One more time. Observe, accept, let go. It's so important to let go of things you have no control over. When I wasn't getting bookings, there was no point calling customers and trying to get them to book me because they weren't interested in that. That was last on their agenda. You can't change that. Observe it. This is really bad. This is not how I want it. This is not ideal. Accept it. That's the way it is. I hope it won't stay like that forever. And then you let it go. And then you focus on what you can do. All right, let me focus on getting good at this. This I can do. I can focus on this. Does that make sense, guys? What is it you're doing now to get ready for the big comeback? Focus on the things you can do something about. Everything else, let it go. You're just wasting calories. And that makes us stronger. Number 3, that also helps us stay calm and focused. You see, it's so important. Resilient people are calm and they're focused. Resilient people aren't just strong. Most people think resilience is about being tough. It's also about something else. Social connections. People who are tough in life, they haven't done it themselves. They've used their networks to help them. There's a 75-year study in Harvard University with a question, what makes a good life? And the answer was very simple. If you want a good life, you need strong social connections. You need to be able to ask for help. Strong, resilient people have a network of others around them that they can ask for help for. Resilient, strong people are not afraid to be vulnerable. Vulnerability. It's okay to not be okay. I don't know about you, but I felt that sometimes in the last year or so, sometimes you're not allowed to say, oh God, this is really difficult. I don't know if I can make this through. Yeah, you can. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. But then you need to reach out to the network. That's why networks like you have are so important, that you do continue to meet, that you've had all your e-conferences and e-meetings and e-events. That's what we've got now. And reaching out to others makes us stronger. Even the great polar, explorers of old and now, they don't do it on their own. Oh yeah, they're on their own with the skis, but they didn't get there on their own. Number 5, really important. If you want to build resilience, be strong, you've got to be kind to yourself. I did COVID. It's not my fault we're in this thing. Don't let that negative voice get over you. Don't let it dominate you. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself. Celebrate victories. I've been trying to do that all the time. Be kind to yourself. And number 6, find purpose and meaning. Never lose sight of what you do. Before COVID hit, I'm sure, looking at people here, I'm sure you were passionate about what you did. You loved your job. That's what makes us so sad when Corona took it all away, because it's like losing a loved one. When I couldn't speak to people, I was sad. I was also needing money. I was sad. I was sad, oh no, my life is over. I love doing my job. But it's also that keeps me going. Right, how do I get it back? You need purpose, vision, meaning. You need to believe, by being kind to yourself, that your job, even though it's changed the last year, is really important. You know, when things come back to normal, there's going to be a massive party. The last time that happened was the 1920s with the Spanish flu. After that, they had 10 years of partying. They called it the Roaring Twenties. People went bananas. And then the Second World War came along and the financial crisis. But we forget that now, okay? They had 10 years of party. It was amazing. And there's going to be a 10-year party after this. People are going to come back and they're going to get together and they're going to want to go on holidays. Those holidays won't be exactly the same as before, but maybe people want to stay a bit more local. Maybe Europeans don't want to go to South America anymore or China. Maybe they want to go to Europe. Maybe they want to go to places in Europe that are a little bit different and exotic. Where's that? Well, I can think of one place. It's up there in the north called the Arctic region. I've been saying it for years, guys. The Nordic countries have got things that other parts of the world simply don't have. And people are going to want to go there. And this is what builds the resilient mindset, okay? The 6 balls. Hang on to those 6 balls. There they are. I can send this to you again. If you write me a message or only you ask me, I can send this to you. The daily dose. And finally, if you want all these, excuse me, I'm going to show you how to get all of this in one go. What we've understood in the last year as human beings is how important this is. I'm going to talk to you, spend the last few minutes talking about love. Amore, all right? You can't have an Italian come here and not talk about amore, all right? Love. Love is well, it was already becoming, but will be even more important part of working life when we come back. You see, a few years ago, even before COVID, ironically, someone from China was telling us how important it was to have love in the workplace. His name is Jack Ma. He's the founder of Alibaba. He's China's richest man. He made his money on technology, not on traveling, technology. He comes to the World Economic Forum and he's asked the question, Jack, what do we need to be successful? And his answer surprises people. He says, to gain success, a person will need high EQ. Not IQ, EQ. He doesn't talk about technology and algorithms and robots. He talks about emotional intelligence. In fact, he says, you'll need high LQ. What's that, Jack? The IQ of love. You've got people in the audience. This is at Davos in Switzerland. People in the audience looking around thinking, I think Jack had a little smoke backstage. No, Jack's fine. But Jack is saying, technology is just a tool. And we can't compete with technology, we humans. That's why when we come back to the new world, lots of our meetings will still be digital because they're just better. They're more efficient. They save us money. We don't have to see each other all the time. We're going to do lots digitally. I'm not going to have face-to-face meetings as much as I used to. I'm not going to go into Oslo and park my car and spend lots of money and take 2 hours of my time to have a 30-minute meeting when I know I could do that meeting like this and it will be fine, right? We know that. Technology is amazing. But what technology doesn't do is love. What we can do as human beings is work alongside technology and do the things we humans do best, which is to show love. Just after he did this, the Harvard Business Review had an edition called The Great Place to Work. And in that edition was this article, look, employees who feel love perform better. Employees who feel love perform better. This is based on research. Let me ask you, go back in time, before COVID. If you worked in an office or with other people in a place at work, when you came into work and you said good morning, was it like you were hit with this big wave of love from all your colleagues? Like, whoa, stop, hang on, stop guys, it's too much, stop. Were you hit with lots of love? When you go back to your offices, will you be hit with love? Because people today are asking, where is the love? Since COVID, we've become more demanding. We want more human aspect, we want more humanness in all our services because we've been missing it. And the companies that are doing best actually show love to their customers. They show generosity and flexibility, and we'll help you out. And don't worry about COVID. We're going to make it right for you. We're going to make your life easier. That's love. Even banks, the finance world has started understanding the importance of love. What? Finance? Finance and love? I don't think, yeah. We have a bank in Norway called DNB, the Norske Bank, all right? The Norwegian bank. They made a commercial, an advert, where they advertise for one of their services, their online payment service called VIPs, right? I'm sure you've got similar ones in your countries. Kids call you, Papa can have some money, bleep, 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 fing, you give them money, all right? Because banks are saying, yeah, we are capitalists, we make money, but we also help people make money so they can spread love. So I wanted to play this commercial from a bank, not from a restaurant, not from a tourist organization, from a bank who's understood how important this is. Because when you come back, you're going to have to show people love. Now, I want to play this for you. And as I play it, just sit back, just enjoy it. But I want you to be aware of the DOSE in your body. The dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the endorphin. So the dopamine, this is curious and new. The oxytocin, the tingle. The serotonin, oh, that feels good. And maybe you laugh or maybe you cry, I don't know. You see, all right? You see how you react. It's done in Norwegian. I've put subtitles for you. They talk really fast in Norwegian, and the subtitles are quite quick, so you have to read quite quickly. But you'll get the idea. Look at this.
Hvor lenge siden har du snakket med mamma da?
3 uker siden, ikke? Ish, noe sånt.
Ringer ikke det?
Ja, hun pleier å ringe meg innimellom, men jeg er ikke så flink til å ringe.
Sier du til mamma når dere snakker sånn? Sier du at du er glad i å...
Jeg er veldig dårlig på å si det. Jeg sliter veldig med å si det. Så når hun sier det, så er det bare sånn, takk. Jeg vet ikke. Jeg har bare alltid slettet litt med å si det.
Kunne du ringt mamma nå da, på høyttaler og sagt at du er glad i henne?
Ok, nå ble jeg litt nervøs egentlig. Ok, vent. Ok. Halloen.
Hallos.
Jeg ville egentlig bare ringe litt, for det er lenge siden vi snakket. Og
Ja, det var godt, Nina, for jeg tenkte på deg i går. Jeg tenkte, nå må jeg ringe og høre hvordan det går med deg. Går det bra?
Ja, det går veldig bra.
Ja.
Jeg skulle egentlig bare ringe for å si at jeg er glad i deg.
Så skjønner du. Du kan ikke gjøre sånn. Du begynner den gamle moren din å grine. Jeg elsker deg også. Veldig.
Jeg er glad i deg.
Jeg håper så koselig. Jeg er glad i deg,
Ja.
Ja, da.
Hei, mamma. Jeg skal bare si at jeg er glad i deg. Glad i deg. Jeg burde jo si det oftere. Jeg er veldig glad i henne. Det betyr veldig mye for meg.
Jeg var slett med å legge på. Jeg ville ikke legge på. Jeg ville bare snakke med deg.
What do you think of that then? Pretty powerful. I can see the expression on your faces, many of you. It really, right? Because the last year, one of the most positive things of the last year, generally a crappy year, a shitty year, is that we've understood how important this is. When we come back, it's an opportunity to use that in our business and our working lives. Because that's what we need to glue us together. But you've got to be open, curious, and brave, because this is a new way of thinking. So I thought I'd end today, my little talk, with an exercise for you, which I hope you join me to do. It's a really cool, fun exercise, right? It's not dangerous, but it is maybe a bit different than what you would do at this time of day. And it requires you to be open, curious, and brave. Are you with me? Do we do it? Could you get your mobile device, or just do it on your laptop, all right? And what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to send a message to somebody that you love. And you just say in that message, I love you, in your own language, of course. Throw in a couple of emoticons if you want, that's okay. But don't explain it. Don't say, oh, I'm watching this guy on the camera and he's asked me to send the message. Don't worry. Don't explain it. Just do it without warning, without explanation. Go on. Do it with someone you love. If you're feeling really brave, do it to a colleague, send it to a colleague. If you're feeling really crazy in the sunshine right now, maybe you're up in the Rovaniemi thinking, oh, I'm feeling really crazy, send it to a customer. Yes, go on, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Just blame it on Corona, say I'm going a bit crazy. So it's the sunshine, I'm not used to it. Go for it. Now, why am I getting you to do this? Because first of all, I want to see if you can just do it. Are you open, curious, and brave to try something new? Second, what answer do you receive? Because if this is something that you do enough already, you know, you're always sending messages to these people, they'll just answer back, oh, lovely to hear from you. I love you too. Can't wait to see you soon. But I suspect that many of you will get surprised answers because we're not saying it enough. Yeah, they know that you know that they know. I know, but we're not saying it enough. We're not articulating it and telling people. While you wait for your answers, I'm going to show you some answers that have come back when people have sent this, especially when they send the message at 1 or 2 or 3 in the afternoon. One person wrote back, it's a bit early to start drinking, no? All right, that's a bit, that's not the right. Lots of people go, wrong number. That's a little bit worrying if you sent that to your husband or your wife, right? Wrong number. Who else am I sending it to? Yeah. One woman wrote back, it's usually the men who get the funny answers. One woman wrote back to her husband, I love you too. Lovely. But then she kind of ruins it and spoils it by writing, what's wrong, right? What's wrong? A father sent it to his son. The son is 14 years old. Can you imagine a father sending it to his son? Son, I love you. And the son writes back, that's your job. That's your job. It's like, no, that's not what I was looking for, right? They're funny, but they indicate maybe we're not saying it enough. It's not part of our everyday habit. But my favorite one actually was at a travel. I was on a trip. We were at a conference center at a hotel, staying overnight, big conference, and a brave colleague sent this message to their colleague. I love you. They'd worked together for many, many years. And the colleague writes back, meet me in room 275 in 10 minutes, right? So that's, wow. Crisis, what do you do now? That's a crisis. What do we do in time crisis? You know what to do in crisis. Never waste a good crisis, all right? So I hope this has given you something to think about, that it's inspired you. And I hope that the message that you sit there is that, yes, there's something I can do on a daily basis to make myself feel more human. We are on our way back. When we come back to the new world, it's a time of opportunity. Don't waste that opportunity. We'll still have technology. Technology is great. Look at the positive sides of technology. Look at the hybrid solution as something good, but never ever forget that we are humans. And to feel alive, we need to go back to those human things, the DOSE, the resilient mindset, and most importantly, the love. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining me. Over to you, Rauno.
Thank you, Pellegrino.
My pleasure.
This was really great, and it was amusing. There was great tips, and what I will do first thing after this, I will call to my mom. Hopefully,
yes, do that.
I'll do that. I'm really grateful to you, Pellegrino, and thank you for this opportunity to share your knowledge and your wonderful performance to all our people here in North.
My pleasure. And amazing that we could do it, right, with this technology, because we've been talking a lot and you've had to cancel and postpone and cancel. Yeah. And in the end, we found a way to make it work. You know, it's, you know, this is good as well. I'm glad we could do it.
Yeah, hopefully soon we will see each other's, all of us physically and in the event. Until that, thank you. Have a great summer, all of you, and hope to see you soon.